With condo towers going up and buildings coming down, Toronto is a city of changing skylines. What's sometimes lost in the shuffle is how projects to revitalize housing, particularly public housing, affect the people displaced in the process. That is where filmmaker Charles Officer's most recent documentary lives. It's called Unarmed Verses, and it was the 2017 winner of the Best Canadian Feature Documentary at Hot Docs. It airs tonight on TVO and is streaming on tvo.org, our website. And we thought it a fine occasion to dig a little deeper into this dislocation. So joining us to do just that, Shelley Carroll, Toronto City Councillor; William Mendes, Director of Program Delivery at Toronto Community Housing; Levon Kelly, that's him on the left, he's a Villaways resident; and filmmaker Charles Officer, that's him on the right. And we are delighted to welcome all of you to TVO tonight to help us dig deeper into this story. Let's just, Sheldon, you want to bring this graphic up just so we can give some background to folks who maybe live outside the big smoke, as we call it? Villaways is what we're going to be talking about tonight. It was a community located in the north part of Toronto. The neighborhood is known as Leslie Neimark. It was developed in the 1960s. It was home to 121 social housing units owned by Toronto Community Housing. And under a revitalization project, those units are being replaced, and nearly 500 market condominium suites are being added to the mix. Okay, Charles, I want to get you up here first. Your film really dives deep into the lives of the people who are at the center of this drama. And I want to know, just off the top, what was it about their stories that you found so compelling that you needed to tell it in this documentary?
I think the initial movement to tell a story was to explore what was breaking the hearts of young Black youth in this city, this Toronto, where I grew up, where the producer Leah Marin grew up. And we've often, in Canada, we often look to these stories in the United States and what's happening there. And we're not paying enough attention to our issues right here in our country, in our own backyard. So with that initial sort of movement, I ended up finding, Villaways community, which I thought that I knew of all the Toronto community housing communities in this city. I mean, I grew up very close to one myself. It was very, very, you know certain ones, but this one was just quite so hidden. And it's funny, growing up playing hockey in the city, driving up along Leslie and past Shepherd, I missed this community.
How come?
Well, it's really off by this ravine, and you got to turn off to get into it, and it goes deep into sort of it's set back. It's not like you're driving by and you're looking for this. So finding this community, I really found very early that there was some engaging young youth there.
Actually, tell us about your chief protagonist in this film.
Yeah, it was very early on that in one of these sort of what they call a rec center, but it's actually just one of these units that we see here in the background is repurposed for youth to actually go and do art programs. Art Starts set up there, which is a great art movement and program that we're inspiring youth to look at art in other ways of expression. Very early on, I noticed this young girl who was about 11 years old when I first walked in there, and she walked in holding a 6-year-old girl.
She's 11 going on 25.
Yes, Francine Valentine.
Yeah.
And she was quiet and she would not speak, but when she did speak, you had to lean in and you had to listen because she has an old soul, and very quickly I felt engaged with her, because often in our cinema and our stories, especially in this country as well, we don't see the stories told from the perspective of a young Black girl. To actually understand and feel what it's like to actually grow into teenagerhood and what kind of issues that they are facing. So I was very attracted to this young girl, and through that we engaged with a few other youth.
One of which is here today.
Which is sitting right beside me.
Let me go to the city councillor first. How did you first come into contact with the revitalization project chronicled in the film?
Well, I have a certain amount of guilt because I asked for it early on. When I got elected, Regent Park was just being revitalized, and Donmount downtown. And so I thought, well, I have a falling apart social housing complex. There's no question that this complex wasn't built properly in the first place and was falling apart. But I just thought, this is all good news, all good. I will do this. I will get this rebuilt for them. I will advocate for this. And what Charles's film taught me is it's easy to think of something as good news when you're sitting in your council chair down at City Hall. But in fact, real lives were radically changed by it.
Just take a step back for a second,
Yeah.
because people, again, living outside Toronto may not know the Regent Park template. This
yes.
city has tried for, I mean, going on a decade now, to do what in Regent Park?
Well, we haven't got the funds to totally rebuild everything
But what's the
exactly
idea?
where it is. And so what we do instead is partner with private sector developers and say we're a growing city. So if we intensify this site and allow you to put some market value units here, will you also at your cost rebuild all of the homes for our social housing tenants? And we're doing that in 9 different places. If I think more are slated even now. But it is a huge assignment that you place on the plate of a family in every single unit. And we've already done thousands of units. And this was sort of a reality check. Here's what you have done to these families. In the process of building lovely new homes, you've uprooted them. They have to leave for 2 or 3 years while you rebuild, and then are expected to come back and just applaud their new home.
Well, but the idea is short-term pain for long-term gain, right?
Yeah.
And?
Well, for some, there's some pain that becomes indelible. First of all, there's the long wait. What you learn in Unarmed Verses through Francine is a very small girl actually grows up just waiting for the uncertainty to become a certainty, because they sit there knowing their lives are going to change, while down at City Hall we argue about the finer points of planning for 4 to 5 years. She's almost a grown woman by the time we approve it. And that was a real struggle, just to live with that hanging over their heads. And as much as we tried to inject arts programs and rec programs to give people a way to express that, it's still happening to their families. Yeah.
We should remind everybody that the documentary in question, Unarmed Verses, is going to appear on TVO immediately after this program, and it's on our website, tvo.org, anytime you want to catch it. William, you've seen it, yes?
Yes, I have.
How well does it capture the story that has been a part of their lives in this neighborhood and your life professionally for the last little while?
You know, the documentary, in my opinion, it just captures the viewpoint of some of the people that you might not see at the forefront of our community meetings. They might not be as vocal, and I think capturing the voice of young people in the process is very important. And this really shows us the impact it has on someone growing up in social housing and being faced with the reality that they're going to have to move away from their community. And it shows the growth in her voice being heard by others. And I'm glad that it was profiled, because this is really meaningful, and it's a learning opportunity for all of us to really take a look at our process and how we plan out our engagement activities, how we involve people, and we want to improve that process moving forward. So as we have more revitalizations that may impact people moving, we want to ensure that people are supported throughout the process.
Can you tell? Yeah, sorry, Shelley, go ahead.
The revolution, I think, for both TCHC and for politicians, comes about midway through the film. There's a community meeting where they're being told about relocation once and for all, and real effort was made. I was at that meeting. I watched how it unfolded. I went from table to table while they were doing it, and we really thought we'd nailed it. We thought, okay, everybody knows what's happening next. What we see afterwards is what Francine then has to explain about the meeting to her family and realize we haven't nailed it at all. All we've done is overwhelm people with a bunch of information. We have to change the way we do this. We must. It's a learning tool for any politician or any corporation that's trying to do anything like this.
Let's talk to one of the guys who actually was at the center of all this. Levon, you ready to go here? Let's just figure out a little bit more about how this worked for you. How long had you been living at Villaways?
I've been living in Villaways for about 11 years.
And then you moved out?
I moved out with the revitalization, so we were relocated to Flemington Park.
Which is how far away?
That's from Villaways, maybe an hour. About an hour.
An hour away?
Yeah.
If the traffic's really horrendous. It's not that far, right? It's a few miles.
An hour by transit for most of the members
there
of
you go.
Levon's family. And a world away, given that it's just plain not your neighborhood. And Villaways was a neighborhood.
Right. How was it trying to make the adjustment to a different place while you waited for your original place to be rebuilt?
It was difficult because the whole process of of getting a place, right? It was a raffle. People got choices on where they were going to live based on numbers that they picked out, almost like they're picking out numbers from a hat.
Right.
So if you got a 1 or if you got a 72, whichever was the lower number was the person who would get their pick of whatever lot on a list that you got to choose from.
And what number did you get?
I'm not aware of that. That was something that my mother was dealing with.
Okay.
But
were you happy with where you ended up?
Not at all, because I ended up in a very unsafe place, as many other people did. There's immediately moving to where I moved to, there was a lot of gun violence that was going on. There was an assault that happened. This was all in a very short period of time from when I moved. And this is not like an issue that we had to deal with as a community in Villaways. So, and this is a story that's mirrored in a lot of the people who did leave. It's not just me, and it's not just my friend. It's a lot of people who have this experience because they're not being moved to the area, the safety of the area, the priority of the people who have disabilities and who need certain sort of accessibilities. Those things are not being put into, they're not being accounted for.
So the transition was difficult.
It was difficult. It was very difficult.
William, can I ask you, just off the top, what was it about Villaways that you think needed redeveloping or revitalizing in the first place?
Okay, so Villaways is a community it's about 50 years old, and the infrastructure was not in the greatest shape, starting just from the fact that people's homes were flooding. The water, their units, their homes were below the water table, and the infrastructure below the actual homes was crumbling. Inside the homes, the units needed a lot of repair. And I won't get into the details of it, but when I first came into Villaways to talk about a potential capital investment or rebuilding of homes, tenants advocated for change over there. They wanted the investment from the city, from Toronto Community Housing, to work with them to rebuild their neighborhood because they knew that their homes were not in the greatest shape, and in some cases there wasn't a way to just do some patchwork repair. It was much deeper and greater.
More profound than that.
Yes.
What's the budget on the whole project?
It was, but I just wanted to interject that it's just like, Toronto Community Housing and low-income in neighborhoods across the city have been neglected, over time. So without the upkeep, without the sort of attention to this sort of the details, because there are a lot of tenants that do reach out for help and ask for painting and let people know, and I know there's all due respect, it's a lot of management involved, but I can walk into X number of buildings and the people who are on the floor in those buildings, the managers, the supervisors, the relationships have to be solid because they have to deal with the people on the ground. And it trickles all the way up to the information getting to someone in an office. And so, but the reaction time for the individuals who are desperately in need when as specifically with Villaways, because it was so close to this ravine and they had specific issues with water and flooding because of where it was located. But it's like, there are issues that, that have been going on in these buildings for years. So the idea of actually having to really burn something to the ground means that it's non-repairable.
And what's the backlog now? Is it a $1 billion repairs backlog for TCHC?
It's almost two.
Almost $2 billion.
Yeah, we put a significant amount in this year, but it's simply been growing by leaps and bounds every year.
And what's the budget on this project?
Oh, well, that is in the hands of the private developer, so I couldn't put an exact price tag on it. Basically, we set specifications, numbers of units, and they agree that they will build them using the same building materials they're using on their own development.
And given that this is in your constituency, I gather you've been keeping a close eye on it. How's it going?
Well, they actually, in fact, have not started digging. And it's been painful to make sure that the city understands, like it or not, you have to prioritize these. This is different than your average condo developer because people's lives are hanging in the balance waiting to come back. And so we ran into a snag dealing with something within the evaluation of the foundation. And I've had to move heaven and earth to phone planning every day and say, this can't wait. This can't wait. Whatever motion you need moved, I'll move it. I have to move it this month. We have to get this thing going. So we now are finally, as soon as the frost is lifting today, we are actually ready to dig a foundation. But that has set back what's already been estimated as the time you'll be away from the neighborhood. That's added another 6 months.
So what are we looking at now?
And these are 6 months that Levon can't wait for. Well, all told, from the day they moved out, realistically, they may not all be back for a full 4 years.
4 years.
Some kids are growing up and out of needing to be with their family, waiting for this to happen and always having it hanging over their head. So we've got to get it better. I do have in my own ward a complex that went entirely differently, went quite quickly. People were back in 2 years. But we have to get to the point where we're choosing the right sites to use this template and that it is a priority and it does jump the queue in terms of city planning.
Levon, you've moved out to a different place as you wait for your original home to be revitalized.
Yeah.
Do you plan to stay in the home that you're in right now?
No, I don't plan to stay with my family. So.
Because it's not a great place for you right now, is that right?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
I'm going to find my own place. So I won't be coming back to the New Villaways when it is rebuilt.
Now that's interesting because that's going to happen to a lot of people, presumably, Charles, right? They'll have moved out, but 4 years down the road, by the time it's ready for them to move back in, some people aren't going to move back in.
Well, a lot of people aren't going to be moving back in, but I just want to also pose another little thought here. I mean, we're talking about Toronto community housing and low-income neighborhoods, where the objective should be is to get people out of these sort of situations. Not welcoming them, hey, come back and live here. Because we're going to have an influx of new immigrants coming in over the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 4 years. By the time this property, our population is going to increase as well, with new immigrants looking for places to live where they should possibly have that opportunity. So my big question towards TCHC and sort of our programming and these ideas that we have with these communities is how are we helping them get out? We already know that Toronto is hard to find housing for people who are making $100,000 a year to live in the city. So then how is this going to be inspiring for a young person who is trying to find their way, find the education? They've been now relocated into unsafe neighborhoods in the city, which is a backlog of issues, why these neighborhoods are in these sort of states already. And how is he supposed to prosper? How are they supposed to progress and have the same opportunities that kids in Rosedale have?
Let me put some of those questions to William. Obviously, 100% of the people are moving out. What percentage do you expect to move back in once the development is completed?
That's tough to tell because it really depends on people's choice. Everyone has a legal right to return to their original community once they've relocated, if they've had to relocate off-site. But I really want to draw some attention to the opportunities that revitalization unlocks. And at Toronto Community Housing, we're not just engaged in the physical redevelopment. We start with the community and involve them in the process, but we're really more than just physical redevelopment. We're in the process of rebuilding and building the sense of community, and in that is a lot of focus on economic development. And we select our private developer partners very carefully, and we want private developer partners that are willing to engage in that sense of community building and creating opportunities for tenants. So we've had employment and training programs being put in place for people living in social housing, specifically those living in a revitalization site, which really enables them to get access to opportunities that they might have faced barriers to, whether it be in the trades or local retail or other local opportunities. And
well, let me make the comparison to Regent Park if I can, because when in the time during which Regent Park has been under development, I mean, there have been more jobs move into the neighborhood. There's a theater auditorium there. There are restaurants that are there right now, a community center, big pool. I mean, there's been some phenomenal redevelopment going on in Regent Park. Are we going to see the likes of that for this one as well?
I certainly hope so.
Not like the scale. I mean, we're talking downtown Toronto,
Right.
Yeah.
opposed to the northeast side of Toronto, where it's still off of this ravine. It's still a pocket of land that's not the same scale as, I think the Regent Park's over a 5-phase revitalization. This is doing it in, well, set to do it in kind of one shot.
So
So there's a scale difference. So it's hard to compare the two, I believe, and I feel like this is the thing. It's like with these pockets of these smaller communities that are around, they're less visible. So I think we have to pay attention more to how these folks are being moved and repositioned.
But the Regent Park thing really, I mean, the Raptors put in free basketball courts, the Leafs put in free ice pads.
The opportunities there are magnificent. And
Is that happening here too?
It can happen.
It can.
And this is the thing. It's not about. I mean, these things are already happening. There's nothing that's going to stop it. So the train has left the station. So what are we going to do now so that we are actually considering the next 4 communities ahead of time? How are we using this as a model to really look at the process of how we've moved human beings out? What did we set up? Do we look at lottery system? I think a lot of us here, if we were put in that position, we would be protesting our eggs off. But because this community already feels voiceless, like they don't really have a certain say. Yes, there are programs invited or in place to engage, but here's an individual sitting right here. Can you ask him about that program that's been set up and how he's felt it? Has it reached him? Has it interested him? How can it be improved so it can reach individuals that are sitting right here? Because some of these programs that are being set in place are not being accessed.
Well, let me pick up on that, Charles. We've got a few minutes left here. Shelley, what did you learn? What did the city learn about the way it did this that it can apply to future redevelopments?
Well, that we do have to counterbalance the scope issue. This is a tiny complex of 100. It's not the 550 of Regent Park. So you're not going to see all the businesses opening up on site. So what do you do instead? We started out asking developers, you have to provide bursaries. We have to give the kids a reason to keep going to school, despite all of the uncertainty in their lives, even though they may move schools. And those are provided. Now you couple that with free tuition. What's missing? Actually going to the schools and saying, here's what's happening in the neighborhood. Don't let these kids fall through the crack. Keep an eye. These are kids going through something right now. But we are giving them tools to continue on their careers. Make sure that you're tracking them and they're able to, because along with all of those financial supports, there's got to be marks. And so we want to know. There are supports back at TCHC. We want to know if someone's suddenly circling the drain at school. There needs to be far more connectivity between every component of the neighborhood when something like this is happening within the neighborhood. Lots of agencies support my ward, but one of the unique natures of the Villaways is teetering on the cliff, heading down into a ravine. Those kids aren't really accessing that. So we had them meeting in the new Parkway Forest Community Center because I wanted them to see this wonderful thing. But it might as well be a world away from them, for them, because it's, $5 worth of transit fares away and back again. They're probably not going to go.
William, in our last minute here, what did TCHC learn about this that it can apply to future projects?
So one thing that we did in Villaways and a number of our revitalization sites, especially for young people, is we have a youth ambassador program where we invite young people who want to be leaders in their community or aspire to do great things or want to contribute to be part of that program, where we do some leadership development, but more importantly, we ask that they act as ambassadors for their community and connect with other young people. And that is one of the ways, other than going out door to door and visiting families in their homes, that we try to really engage all pockets of the community. And we realize that, there's never enough engagement. We can always do better. And that's something that we've learned a lot through the documentary and through feedback from tenants, from parents, from young people, from people outside of the community, as to how we can humanize the process as much as possible.
Gotcha.
And ensure that people's needs and values are respected throughout.
Charles, last word to you.
I think that the one thing that we haven't really touched on is I read a little note from Andrea Delzato from Tridal. And all due respect to you for watching the film, and I'm grateful for your attention to that, that there is, developers, that are also involved. And we haven't spoken about that this is one pocket of land where there stands to be X amount of dollars made per unit. We understand in the city that, an average condominium is possibly starting at about 350 grand. If you multiply that by 529 units, that stands to be a substantial amount of money. There's a section where there's going to be a little bit of money that was going to be put back into the community by TCHC, upwards of just about $1.1 million. That was in the proposal. I foresaw that it's like, it's going to go towards developing things around the ravine and the area. What my big question is here, as all these funds and monies are being brought in and profits are being made, and people have been moved off of land, and we've watched things get neglected over numerous years and problems happen. These ideas of bursaries and education and kicking back some of this funds is very, very critical to young people like Levon, to young people like Francine, who don't need a lot. $500 can go a long way in communities for individuals such as this. We're not talking about millions of dollars. And just in our ideas of creating programs, art programs, Art Starts is in there doing things, but it's very tricky when kids are hungry and they have no food to eat. But the government and we are supporting programs, nonprofit programs, to go in there to help inspire youth. They need basic things. They need to be safe. They need food. They need access to food. They need education. They need an opportunity to prosper. These are very basic things. So in our ideas, because I love the idea of progression, I love the idea of people living in beautiful places and homes, but that's just an ideal idea. It's a utopian that I don't know if we're really going to grasp. But the truth of the matter is that while we're here together, it's very critical for us to have this sort of dialogue so that councillors, people who are represented from organizations can actually see the human beings and understand that if they were in those positions, how would they be reacting? How would they like to be moved? How would they like to be presented these options? It's a big issue, Steve. It's a big thing. And I know that people are working hard to try to make it better. But if we're not listening and taking the time to actually enter the homes of the individuals who are being affected, then our progress is only going to go so far.
And we remind everybody the documentary will air on TVO, on television, immediately after this broadcast is over. We thank Shelley Carroll, the Toronto City Councillor, and William Mendes, the Director of Program Delivery for Toronto Community Housing Corporation. On that side of the table, and on the other side of the table, the filmmaker himself, Charles Officer, Director of Unarmed Verses, and Levon Kelly. Thanks, everybody, very much.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.